Alright, so this is Comparative Anatomy, Rat versus Frog by Ming Zhang and Ali Chawoya. So the animal that we picked to dissect was a rat. Rats belong to the Muridae family, being the largest rodent and largest of all mammalian families. For rats, we looked at its ecology and habitat, the way that they live and interact with each other, and their environment. Rats, as social animals, like to live in colonies. These colonies are generally situated in large barrels that can host up to 150 members. Colonies are made up of either a family or groups of family of rats. A colony size depends on the availability of the food source that its members rely on. Amazingly, rats are able to live in almost all terrestrial environments apart from deserts, tundra, and the polar ice. What allows the rats to live in all types of environments would be their flexible diets and behavior. However, despite their hardness, they do tend to live near vegetation and water supplies. Rats, such as the Norway rat, like to live in a burrow system. Since rats are social animals, even outside of a colony, they tend to live in pairs or larger groups, with some examples being harems or with without offspring, unisexual groups, and families. This is just a small example of the barrel system that they have. Um, Wild rats tend to form complex societies as the members interact with each other for a long time. Groups of rats tend to have multiple generations living together. Through having these complex social systems, it shows that rats need a certain cognitive adaptation to deal with finding food or looking for a partner due to the fact that rats do not have a breeding season, as female rats are able to give birth to offspring all year round. Rats have also shown to be able to recognize each other using different methods such as imprinting, along with able to tell the difference between kin and non-kin. The, so, in dissecting a rat, we're able to see the system that makes it up, such as the heart and veins, which make the circulatory system. We can also see the trachea and lungs, which are part of the respiratory system, rather standard for a small mammal, as it takes up for a large portion of its body. For the digestive system, there is the liver, stomach, and intestines. We do not get to dissect the rat's head, so we can't show the brain, but there are some nerves showing. They control the rat's motor functions. Overall, the streamlined way that the rat is made up allows it to be able to be flexible and be able to easily adapt to its environment. It is showcased by its strong hind limbs and flexible forelimbs, which it uses for locomotion. These are some pictures of rats.
The animal we chose to compare our dissected animal to was the frog, the primary reason being their proximity in the phylogenetic tree. They branched off after their phylum, Chordata. Everything following that showcases a different trait leading to different characteristics. For example, the frog's class, Amphibia, encompasses animals like salamanders and newts, who developed the ability to walk on land and were still relying heavily upon nearby water sources to survive. Their order, Nera, just describes frogs in general, and their family and genus gives us their species name, Rana forae, respectively. Now, out in the wild, due to their amphibious nature, frogs require a nearby source of water, or else they will dry out. We can see examples of this even on campus, as would occasionally be dry corpses of frogs out on the road. The species is no different. Rana forae's natural habitat is in the forested areas near ponds, where they spend most of their lives. This includes both their infancy and adult stages, though they rely more heavily on water during these early stages. As tadpoles, they are fully aquatic, unable to go on dry land. During this stage, they subsist on primarily algae and are preyed upon by most carnivores, eaten by fish and insects. The tables will turn, however, when they reach adulthood. As adults, their diet consists mostly of fish and insects, though as a larger target, they become worthwhile prey for larger hunters like snakes and birds. While generally solitary creatures, frogs do get together during certain periods of the year to mate. For the Rana forae, this occurs from mid-March to early September. During this period, to attract males, they will let out a distinct mating call consisting of a low, soft, growling trill lasting 1.5 to 2 seconds. In this time period, multiple batches of eggs can be laid, as a female Rana forae only deposits multiple times a season. This is in line with their reproductive strategy, essentially flooding the ponds with eggs and hoping at least some of them survive to adulthood. They do not stick around after the eggs hatch, after all. While we did not dissect the frog ourselves, we were able to obtain a good picture of one from one of our classmates. Here, on first glance, the bodily systems most readily apparent is the circulatory system. On the skin, you can see quite a number of veins running through it. Though most animals have blood running through their veins, frogs are able to breathe through it, making it a place where gas exchange takes place. Aside from that, there are also veins and arteries in various places throughout the body, though the heart isn't very clear in this picture. Next is the digestive system. Here, the frog's intestines and stomach can be seen clearly. Not too far off from the rat in any case. They do feed on similar animals too, so it could be why. Next to the stomach, you can see the kidneys, which are part of the excretory system. Now, unlike the rats, they lack an anus to excrete waste. Instead, they have a cloaca, a sort of catch-all for both waste and reproduction. It is here that both solid and liquid waste is excreted. Speaking of reproduction, the cloaca is a key component of it as well. In the picture of a dissected frog, we are not able to cleanly teleport their sex or reproductive organs. Only the cloaca can be somewhat made out. Therefore, we refer to a source online for this part. In a female frog, the reproductive organs are kept around their belly. The fertilization process of a frog egg occurs outside, so the female lays the eggs through the cloaca and the male fertilizes them afterwards. Next, the nervous system. While the head of the frog was not dissected, we can still see somewhat what looks to be the spine at the back. This and the brain makes up the central nervous system. The nerves around it that control muscle movements and the like make up the peripheral nervous system. Also, notice how the muscles of the frog are mostly concentrated in its hind legs. It appears much bulkier than its forelimbs. This is because it relies on them for both terrestrial and aquatic locomotion. It swims by kicking back and usually jumps around while on land. This dynamic movement allows it to hunt easily startled prey like insects. As you may have noticed while we were discussing the rat and frog's respective characteristics, they do not have much in common externally. The divergence from mammalia and amphibia shows a marked difference in lifestyle. Where the amphibians are chained to a life near water, mammals are able to thrive in drier conditions. That is not to say that they have nothing in common, however. Many of their behaviors are still quite similar. For example, they both have a diet of mostly insects and are rather opportunistic, not passing the chance to eat even if their meal is long dead. Also, even if frogs cannot survive for long away from water, it doesn't mean that they cannot hunt on land. The major anatomical characteristics that make both rats and frogs develop these characteristics and habits is their vertebrae, always their phylum Chordata. As smaller, complex organisms, they fit into similar ecological niches, both preying on insects and smaller organisms. They're also quite opportunistic as well, eating even long-deceased organisms. They can subsist on this diet due to their small size and brains, requiring not as much energy for upkeep.
Some differences that we were able to find in behavior between rats and frogs are that rats are omnivores while frogs are herbivores while they are young, and as they mature, they become carnivores. Rats are flexible, which allows them to live in burrows while also being able to survive in urban environments. Frog locomotion tends to rely on jumps, while rats are able to run. Frogs also run the risk of drying out as they need constant moisture. Frogs are shown to care very little about their offspring after birth. The anatomy of rats and frogs play a huge role in the differences. While rats are flexible thanks to their collapsible bodies and have long vertebrates along with giving life birth to the young, whereas frogs have short vertebrates and lack a neck and tail during adulthood, along with needing their skin to stay moist in order to breathe. Frogs lay large batches of eggs, where most don't make it to adulthood. And then this is our references. Alright, let's see how long this was.